Hey everybody, hope you guys are healthy and safe. This is the new M2 iPad Air. This guy was launched at the same time as the M4 iPad Pro, but it got completely overshadowed because the M4 iPad Pro does bring a lot of new features and hardware that is not in this guy. But with that said, I think the M4 iPad Pro it's a complete overkill, overpowered luxury device for people with money to splurge basically. For most people, for the average consumer, you are better off buying the iPad Airs. So I have here the 11-inch model, which is the same size as the last few iPad Airs. Previously, iPad Airs were marketed as having a 10.9-inch screen, but that's just Apple rounding up 10.9 to 11 this year. The screen is not bigger. In fact, the overall dimensions of the iPad Air, the new one, is exactly the same as the last several iPad Airs. I know because I purchased a third-party accessory. This is a keyboard case that I just picked up in Hong Kong, and it fits this M2 iPad Air perfectly fine. To be honest, in terms of a technical review, there's not that much to talk about with this year's M2 iPad Air, and it's not because it's not good. This guy is very good, but it's just that to summarize the review, I can do it in 2 sentences. So this iPad Air, it's either just the M1 iPad Air with a newer chip, so a slight performance boost, or it is the M2 iPad Pro, which came out in late 2022, but now in an iPad Air body. What that means is you lose out on a 120 Hz screen, you lose out on the mini LED panel that was in the 2022 iPad Pro. Otherwise, performance between this guy and the 2022 iPad Pro is going to be exactly the same. Now the M2 iPad Pro, if you remember my review of that guy, I was completely blown away by the performance, and I said that I could actually edit my videos on the M2 iPad Pro on Final Cut Pro, and it handled everything with ease. I could not get the machine to slow down. All that is still true in 2024, even if the M2 chip is now 2 generations old. So I put quote marks around 2 generations old because Apple has been pumping out silicon so fast and frequently. Like the M3 chip came out just 10 months ago. So Apple is updating its M silicon less than 1 year apart. So that means even though the M2 is now technically a 2 generation old chip, the chip is actually only like about a year and a half old, and it is still better than any chip in any other tablet right now, whether you have the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra or the Google Pixel tablet or the OnePlus Pad. None of those tablets have a silicon as powerful as the M2. So I like to go outside to do my work, right? I don't like to sit at home. I like to take a computing device and go to a coffee shop. So in years past, I would have to make a decision. I would either bring something that gives me a little bit more screen size and a little bit more processing power, but kind of heavy, like a MacBook Pro, or something that's a little bit lighter, like an iPad Air, but then the screen size is a little bit small, for prolonged use, and also the processing power is a little bit less powerful than a computer. That's not the case anymore with the M2 because it's the same chip powering Apple's computers. And then as for the screen issue, yeah, 11-inch is still a little bit small if I'm working on it for 3 hours. But to solve the screen issue, I've been connecting the iPad Air to a pair of AR glasses, and they're getting better and better. So today's video sponsor is Viture, and they're launching 3 new products this week, including the main event, the new AR glasses called Viture Pro. There's also a Viture Pro mobile dock and a gaming controller designed in collaboration with 8BitDo. The mobile dock basically allows you to plug in multiple AR glasses to consume content from the same device. The gaming controller is self-explanatory. It's a wireless controller. It connects to an iPad, it connects to phones, it connects to your AR glasses. The Viture Pro has gotten some meaningful improvements. The projected screen size now got an increase from 120-inch before to 135-inch viewed from about 3 meters away. The refresh rate doubled to 120 Hz, and the electrochromic film, which basically tints the glasses, has improved, so now when you press the button, it gets much darker than before. But the best part about the Viture glasses, in my opinion, is the software. So Viture has a companion app called Spacewalker for iOS, Android, and macOS. So on the iPadOS, I'm running the iOS version, and when I plug in the glasses, I can run multiple windows floating in front of me. On my MacBook Pro is even better because Spacewalker for macOS allows you to project a virtual display in several different orientations. So you can have a triple screen setup where I actually have to move my head to look at the 3 different displays. You can have the 3 screens be stacked vertically too, so you look up and down instead, or my favorite, you can project a virtual widescreen. So I have a discount code right now for my viewers to get 10% off the mobile dock and the controller. The glasses though, you do have to pay full price. But if you're interested, check out the link in the description below. Okay, back to the iPad Air review. So this 11-inch LCD screen, it's 60 Hz refresh rate, and I have to be honest, when I'm jumping to this iPad Air screen from the iPad Pro's brand new OLED 120 Hz screen, the iPad Air screen does look kind of underwhelming, but that's because I'm comparing against the best tablet display in the world. After about a day of use of the iPad Air, my eyes got used to it, and the iPad Air screen, it's fine. I wouldn't say it's the best display on the market right now, but it's perfectly fine. The battery life on the iPad Air has improved a lot too, especially the smaller 11-inch model. In previous iPad Airs, I thought the battery life was a little bit weak because, this is a smaller, lighter device. They can't put as big a battery in here. But the M2 is a more efficient chip, so that results in better battery life. For my kind of productivity usage, basically, I will have Safari open with my XDA CMS, also Slack in the background, streaming Spotify, and a lot of times I'll jump in and out of Adobe Lightroom, and sometimes I'll put an external monitor into the Vision Pro. Even with this usage, I'm only seeing about a 7 to 8% battery drain per hour. So that's good. That means you can use this guy for over 10 hours of productivity tasks. iPadOS, like I said, is actually getting quite good now. I think a lot of people who still scoff at an iPad as being a potential laptop replacement, they may be going by outdated reference, because nowadays you can multitask on the iPad OS pretty easily. You can run 2 apps in split screen mode with a third app in slide over, or you can jump into Stage Manager, which then allows you to open multiple windows, like 3 or 4 different apps at the same time. But of course, on an 11-inch screen, it's going to be a little bit cramped to run more than 2 windows at the same time. But if you have the 13-inch MacBook Air, it may be doable. And then of course, you can just output to an external monitor. The projector screen shows up in widescreen format, so you're getting a little bit more screen space. And then if I turn on Stage Manager, I can have something like 3 apps open on the larger external display, and then 2 apps open right here for a total of 5 apps. So that's good enough productivity for me. The Files app in here, which was previously a complaint of iPadOS, because it didn't behave like a computer's filing system, it's gotten a lot better now. I can actually access files from my Mac or my iPhone directly on my iPad, save it, and just upload to my CMS. Another benefit of the 11-inch screen size is that it's a little bit easier to hold with your hand if you're playing games that require, holding the tablet to do this. Because the 13-inch model is a little bit too big to hold with your hand. But if you're doing purely productivity and you don't want to plug in an external monitor, the 13-inch iPad Air, it's going to be a little bit more capable than this guy. You get better battery life too. Ultimately though, the M2 iPad Air, it's going to be the iPad for most people, because the M4 iPad Pro, it's a luxury device. For everybody else, this iPad is more than good enough, and there's a $400 price gap between the iPad Air and the M4 iPad Pro. This guy starts at $600 US. The iPad Pro starts at 1,000 US dollars. So $400 difference, and I think for a lot of people, you would probably be better off saving that $400 to use this guy. I mean, the screen is not as nice. The M4 iPad screen is completely mind-blowing. But if you're using it as a productivity machine, like you're writing words into Google Docs, who cares if it's not an OLED panel? It's more than good enough. So yeah, this is the M2 iPad Air. It's going to be the iPad for most people. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. It will help me a lot. Thanks for watching.